You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
This is Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. For 16 years and 2,400 episodes, we've been bringing the Chris Voss Show because we were like, damn it. We know there's a whole bunch of people out there who want to the screen shake go off there a second. I slammed the table with my fist for accent, but we heard there was a whole lot of people out there who want to be motivated, want to learn new stuff, hear people's stories, learn from some of the greatest minds on earth, how they did things, how they survived cathartic things, and that's what we do on the Chris Voss Show. So we're going to guilt trip you for 5 seconds to say, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, refer your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com. Or I did that one. Facebook.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and just Google it. We're all over the internet. We've done a couple episodes. Anyway, we have an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking to him about his insights, his experience, and some of his journey, which is kind of interesting. He also has a book that's coming out in a few weeks called The Delusion of Marketing for Small Business Owners. Chris Campbell joins us on the show. We're going to talk to him about his business, how he does it, what he does, and why he does it. I just made that up. It's pretty good. He helps people dominate local search and outrank their competition. I asked him if he could help me with that on Tinder. He said he might be able to do that, but I don't know. I don't know if I can outrank those Chads. I don't have that 20-year-old body, but I'm working on it at 57. So welcome to the show, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good, bud. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it, and look forward to spending this next little bit talking and getting to know each other a little bit more.
There you go. It sounds like we're on a date.
Well, you said you neid help with Tinder. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
let's get you
started. Got the whole callback going now. Jeez. The callback Joe run through the show. So anyway, you're not quite my type. You seem like a nice fellow though. Did I reject you first? That's not right. Anyway,
I swipe left. I'm not sure.
So, Chris, give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the internet? And give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chris Campbell, Modern Marketing Solutions. You can find it at www.modernmarketingsolutions.com. So I am a current business owner. I own a construction company out here in Austin, Texas. And I got frustrated by dealing with just what I call shithead marketers. We probably have spent well over $100,000 in wasted ad spend and marketing companies who just took our money. And I just said, you know what? I'm tired of it. We're gonna pull the veil back. Let's jump in. Let's identify what's holding back entrepreneurs from actually being able to do their own thing. And it's led down some really cool holes that have opened the opportunity to really get out there and actually help people. So that's where we are today.
Awesome sauce. And so the book isn't quite on Amazon as of this moment on 5/20/25. When do you anticipate that it's going to be up there?
We're looking for the second week of June. We're looking to release.
There you go. And if you're looking for a link for it, there'll be an update on the ChrisVossShow.com post. Search for that, and you'll get a link to the book, or you can probably Google it that time. So in writing the book, is I imagine this is your first book you're putting out?
It is, yes.
There you go. And so is it going to encapsulate some of the different things you guys do for clients in your business?
Absolutely. And so we identify, what are the pitfalls? Every entrepreneur that gets in, they just think that, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to be a millionaire next year, right? And what they don't understand, or what they don't know is that statistically, that's absolutely unlikely. And not only that, they don't have the tools, they don't have the people around them to support them correctly. And more importantly, they get swindled by bad marketing people who promise the world and will always under-deliver. And that's really what we aim to try and identify as the pitfalls who the hero is going to be, which is ultimately going to be the entrepreneur, and then looking out for ways to get their business out there in a way that's not like, oh, I just post on Facebook, right? And so we really dive into a little bit of different secrets on how to really knock on Google's door and have them rank you correctly.
There you go. And so tell us about your journey through life. How did you get into this business? How did you, what were some of the things that maybe prepared you for it or influenced you for entrepreneurism? You kind of had a little journey, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I started out, my parents had split up when I was very young. My dad and stepmom I grew up with in Dallas, and stepdad and mom were in Albuquerque, and they were entrepreneurs, and they bought and flipped apartment complexes, and they were very motivated by identifying opportunities that made them money. And so any of those things that it did, that's what they went after. And so my stepdad was, he was master HVAC, master plumber, master electrician, taught at the college. I mean, he was very well known. And so I got to watch them, really take a bigger leap financially. So I got to really kind of keen in on those things. And so I had the opportunity to run the company. I said, nope, I want to be a chef. So I became an executive chef, went to culinary school, did that for almost 9 years, had the opportunity to leave that and join a healthcare group. So I joined a healthcare company called Epic Health Services and was able to grow and become an executive director within that company. And then I got called back into construction. So I took over a company back here in Austin, and afterwards I helped them sell. And I said, you know what, it's time to do my own thing. And so, being really at the top at different levels taught me a lot of different opportunities, but it doesn't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. It just teaches you when the company is made, how to run it, not how to get to that point. And I think that was the exciting part of this journey.
There you go. And how did you approach that? I mean, how did you look at that? I mean, sometimes it can seem daunting to people. Sometimes it's kind of a thrill, but it's also part of the thrill is the risk of it, or the potential for loss. How did you approach it to try and make sure you got it launched right? And it sounds like you had some entrepreneurism in your DNA from your dad.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I think and this is the delusion of being an entrepreneur, is I thought, okay, I have these big contracts. I have builders that say they're going to follow me. So I launch and they don't follow me. They say, hey, you know what? Actually, we don't fall.
You were serious about
You're
that?
brand new. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm like counting in my bank account, like, I got this builder, that builder, and none of them followed me.
Wow.
And the ironic thing of it all is, and when we started, I'm like, okay, I'm on Google, so people are just going to call me. And that didn't happen. And I said, okay, I've got a website up. And that didn't happen. I put out, Yelp ads and some stuff, and that didn't really do anything. And so I got a call from a guy who, we have a name that's similar to another company that's kind of farther away. He called and said, hey, is this whatever? And I said, no, you have the other one. He goes, you know what? They suck. I think they're assholes anyways. Will you just come and remodel my house? I said, sure. He was 2 hours away. I said, you know what? I got time. Nothing's ringing. And you know what? He's been our best client since. We've done 5 other projects with him. We've done his families. We've done his daughters. And we've been so happy along the way. But, in that journey, you really learn what it takes to be able to take off. And nobody teaches you that. They don't teach that in school. They don't teach that in college. So it's really who you arm yourself around with to get that knowledge of. It's all about marketing, unless, and Alex Hormozzi says it right, unless you're doing $1 million a year in profit, your company is not your company. You are a marketing company that also happens to do whatever that you do. And so that kind of switch is what helped get us off the ground further.
There you go. Well, that works out well. Sometimes you just never know, and it's kind of wild. I've had that experience where, you're trying to figure out how to make a business work, and all of a sudden you find the segment of it. I remember when I started our courier company back in the day, which was our first big, hugely successful company. We were in the medical staff business, which was on call 24/7, race to a hospital, get it to the blood clinic within at least an hour, which was, just madness, especially in the middle of the night. And it was really low when you looked at the availability of how you couldn't run a schedule off it, and you just had to have people on call, and just for the pricing, it just wasn't working. But it was great for an initial contract that we had when we started the company that my business partner had worked for. And but I was like, I knew enough and had my own business practice run-ups, starting little companies, that I knew enough that I needed to find a better resource. And so I remember saying to my partner, I go, we got to reach out, we've got to find something. And so we dumpster dived a company. And this is back in the day when you could dumpster. I used to have a friend who used to have a Apple magazine, and Steve Jobs couldn't figure out how his shit was leaking, and it's because they were dumpster diving the shit. Hey, once it's in the public atmosphere, it's in public. You might as well just throw it in the street, man. And so we got kind of a profile of their top clients, and so we targeted those industries, and I had we were broke. We were just kids running on fucking $2,000 and to startup and top ramen and 18-hour no sleep days. So we had enough money. I had, some spare money to do like a 100-piece mailer by hand. This is, we're typing the letters or copying them and we're sealing and doing all that. This is the mail, kids. And so what I did was I picked 20 of each of the different top industries, and then I tried to target some of the top people in those industries, and I sent out a mailer. And my friend's like, "This is stupid. This is a waste of time. We shouldn't be spending." And I'm like, "No, we got to get out of this rut." And so he's like, "Some of these companies never work." And I'm like, "Just shut up. I know what I'm doing. You don't." He'd never run a business before. And so we sent out to 5 different industries, 20 different mailers for 100 mailers. That was the deal. And so we sent it out. And the one segment that we had no idea that was so profitable, because we thought of these other segments like lawyers and different things that needed immediate documents were a thing, but they never paid their bills. And trying to collect from attorneys a bitch.
Yes,
they know all the tricks. And so we found this vein of the mortgage business, which eventually led to me starting my own business. This vein of mortgage business that was fucking crazy, and we made all this money. In fact, we dumped the client we started with eventually, and we found this very profitable line. And sometimes you just never know. And I remember my business partner was like really discouraging. He's like, "Hey, it's never gonna work. Oh, this is where the money's at." And I'm like, "You don't know." And so sometimes plumbing, sometimes just being open to finding that channel or that vein that's out there. And sometimes you just got to find it. It almost seems like sometimes it's like a combo to a safe where, I've had companies where, you just can't get anything to fucking work. And somehow you hit that right fucking number on the combo, and like the lights go on and you're just like, fuck, shit, we hit it. And, hopefully you don't run out of money by then.
Well, and I think part of it is, right, you're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And so enough throws is going to eventually catch you something when you're in that position. And I mean, surely I thought all these builders were coming this way, and they sure didn't. And it actually led us down a different road, which was away from builders almost entirely and in towards restoration, which was definitely not the anticipated route. And then it led us to here. I mean, I would have never guessed we'd make the full switch into marketing. But when you tell people your story and you tell people, hey, we're real, we're going to show you some of the secrets that these guys are pulling over your eyes, and we're going to show you actual results. It's amazing how convertible that can be as well. I mean, you're more real at that point. So that's for sure.
Now, do you focus on a certain segment of client that you work with? Do you mostly focus on like some of those blue collar things that you come from, or do you take clients from anywhere? Who's the profile of your client and maybe their spend or where they need to be, as a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 1000.
Sure.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think the analogy of throwing stuff at the wall kind of still applies here. I mean, we have so much experience in construction and roofing and HVAC and plumbing, and so you would think naturally that is where you would land, but we didn't. We actually land with jewelry store owners.
Oh, really?
I mean, definitely not the way I would have figured that out. But what we identified with is, they have pain points that a lot of people just simply don't understand or don't want to learn. And that is, they have a lot of money out there and they need to flip it quick, but they also have small stuff like watch repairs and battery change outs that are 40 to $100. You do that 20, 30 times, you're going to cover a lot of costs. In the meantime, now we're getting the custom jewelry. Now we're getting engagement rings. Now we're getting you in front of that high intent buyer or seller if they're wanting to sell anything. And now they have an opportunity to scale up. So most of our people are seeing 10x to 30x return by getting, those ads or getting your videos in the right way to set people up. So our services start at $2,000, they run up to $5,000. Really just depends on what they're looking for and what they're wanting. Most people don't realize most of their websites are shit. I can't tell you how many times when they say, "Oh my gosh, Chris, I have a brand new website," but guess what? It's coded totally wrong on the back end, doesn't have no content, doesn't link anywhere. Google doesn't really recognize it. And in a lot of cases, it takes the rankings down. So that's the first thing that we identify is, what are they doing wrong? How are they not converting in a way that they expected to? It's because the expectation that was set up by the last guy set it up for the downfall of everybody else. So now we're overcoming objections that just simply aren't true.
Wow. So I noticed on your website you have a lot of services that you offer. Tell us about some of the breadth of that, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even kind of leaning into that is, so what we really identified in everything. So what we did is we called the top 30 agencies in Austin. And because we have our other businesses, there was no way we were able to mask really what we were trying to accomplish. And guess what? They were all almost identical the same in their saying and their pricing. They didn't do anything that necessarily stood out to me. But I will say there was a handful that I thought were pretty good. I thought the rest of them were shit. And so when we say 95% suck and steal your money, we really mean that. And I think that's probably a very accurate statistic at that point. But the main thing that changed the game for us is we bought a news station. And when we bought our own news station, it means we create our own narrative. And so our narrative is whatever our clients want to be. So if you say, "Hey, I'm Chris Voss and I got nice feet, and I really want the world to know about my nice feet.
And my OnlyFans for the feet."
Hey, if it pays the bills, Chris, let's do it. But how are you going to get that message out there that Chris Voss has the nicest feet on air? And what we do is we can create several thousand articles and push it in any zip code you want to be in, almost as granular as the street address that you're on.
Wow.
And that's power. I don't know any marketing company that owns their own news station and has the ability to not only create, but create and scale and rank any client in any area in any way. And that is a rapid ranker technology, which we have created. So that's special. So Chris, when you're ready to get those beautiful pearly white toes out there, we're ready to do it, buddy.
I have toes like fingers. Like seriously, I'm not even kidding you. I have they're 14-inch toes, and I already have really big hands and fingers. But yeah, I have this like spider fucking. I don't know, not a spider. That sounds kind of gross. But they're like really long. Like in my old age, I have to be careful I don't bend them wrong or they'll bend back. They're literally like half fingers.
I think you're underestimating the market on long. Toad.
Oh, there's a segment. I see where you're going with this.
Well, that's you do have to niche down though at your age, so you got to be careful.
Finger toes.
Yeah, so ladies love it. I'm sure. You could grab things, hold things.
They love other parts, but but no, I've always looked at them and I'm like, well, if I ever lose my pinky, I'm I've got replacements. So you mentioned the thing that I'd seen on your website. Was it the Rapid Ranker? I think it was,
That's
or
it.
the yeah. And you guys do all sorts of stuff: content marketing, conversion rate, digital marketing agency, email marketing. I notice Austin is named a lot here on some of the offering you have.
It is.
Are
So
you based in Austin or?
we are, yeah.
Okay.
So there's two ways to kind of look at things, right? And entrepreneurs don't really realize that it takes two roads to grow, right?
Mm.
Everybody just assumes, you pay ads, of course, but you have to pay ads. It's just, it's part of the business that people don't understand. The question is where do you pay ads? What content are you putting in an ad? And within that, what is getting the majority of the ad spend? Right. And right now we're doing an 80-20 split of Meta to Google. Before, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it was the opposite. It's 80 Google, 20% Meta. But now Meta knows more about your pearly white toes than you do, right? And so when you buy big shoes and you're bitching about your shoe, guess what ad you're seeing? And that's for big shoes, right? Or, sandals that allow those things to come out, right? And so what we're understanding now is that ad spend is critical. Now you have the organics of ranking correctly. So if you don't rank, then your ad spend, although it can still be helpful, you're not getting the full view of how to run this business. And so I think in the book, we talk and we dive into the organics and how to rank correctly and the mistakes that even marketing companies make to get you there. And then we talk about how to set up ads properly to get you into a place where you can then put ads in there. Now, most people don't have the time to do both. They might be able to manage one or the other. And that's why having a good marketing team is going to be great, because you're going to get better return up front that covers that cost, and you're going to scale properly, and you have a family to call home, right? So you're not by yourself anymore. And I think that's the trap. 80%, right, of entrepreneurs are going to fail within the first 2 years. But then the next statistic is that 95% of the 20% will fail by year 5. So that's a small, you're only talking about 2 or 3 companies that'll make it to year 5.
Holy
so
crap.
How do you get there? Yeah. So how do you get there? Well, you have to get there by scaling and understanding the expectation of what it means to scale. And you could scale too fast, and then you get pulled back, and then you have to learn the rhythm of understanding a plateau, scaling correct, and then getting to that next level. And again, we talk about that in the book as well, which becomes important.
There you go. And so that's really wild. You guys have your own studios, your TV station studios. And so they can...
To be fair, it's not TV, but it's everything but TV. Yeah.
Okay. So you do like podcasts or audio, or you just basically film in the studio, or how does that work?
Yeah. So we have our own film editing team, our own content creating team, our own video scripting team. So they'll help write all the scripts out. So if you're a local business, let's say you're in Tampa, right, and you want you're a roofer that's out there, right? We can help create all that content on our side to be able to get that message in Tampa, any zip code that you want to get it in, right?
Wow.
So it's not enough just to have the news station. You have to be able to embed it. In other words, put it in the area that you want it to show up in. And that's where most marketing companies never get it right. They never get it right. Maybe they have targeting on Meta, but how do you get that message into that specific area correctly, right?
True.
And it has to be, what Google wants to know is, answer this question. Someone put in nicest toes in Las Vegas, and my God, that better be Chris Voss that shows up, because his website says he's got the nicest toes. So what we do is we go through and we check to make sure that all those questions that are top asked get answered correctly.
That's so funny. People are like going to be Googling this. There's no feet pics on Chris Voss, and no.
Well, to be fair, there's none that we know of, but the internet's pretty big.
It's pretty big. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. I don't think anybody wants to see my feet. If you want to see my feet, I don't know. I'm not going to kink shame. Chris Voss and the Kink Show podcast. Welcome. The Kink Show? Kink Shame.
Kink Shame. Yeah.
The Kink Show podcast is on another.com, folks. I love OnlyFans callback jokes. They're fun. But anybody who's Googling that data to see if I'm on there, you're disgusting. So, yeah, I'm kink
And
shaming.
you know what's great is when I get you the actual release, I'm going to show you the data of people who have Googled Chris
Feet
Voss
pic.
feet or the sexiest feet in Vegas. I
Stop
think we
it.
should go with hashtag the sexiest feet in Vegas. Let's do that.
I had a date a couple weeks ago who she called me and I went spinning out the door because it was last second and I hadn't clipped my toenails. She was not excited about that, but it still worked out. But yeah, I'm not sure that chicks. The problem is that I'm not sure the chicks are buying that. It might be some other folks that aren't in my wheelhouse. Anyway, but it's what everybody has their thing, so we're not fully kink shaming. Anyway,
Yeah, and you know what? We all have flaws, Chris. I mean, let's be real. I mean, they just are going to be accepting of the sexiest feet in Vegas.
I don't know about that. I mean, my feet have like knuckles, like they're like this. Like I have like a 10 and a half, almost 11-inch span hands. You can do the math on everything else. But yeah, I have these toes that like they're on their own time frame. But they can walk off on their own.
Now, to be fair, Chris, I saw a statistic that anyone over 10 and a half inches of hands, you have to divide by 3 to find the next part. You know what I'm saying? So it's not by 2, it's by 3.
You may need to use times with me. So anyway, I'm not normal. I can't. You know how men sit and they can cross their legs like a woman? Yeah, that's not possible. So physically with me, like when I see men do that, I about fall over in pain just watching it. I don't know how men can sit that way. So anyway, on your guys' service, do we go over, like, if someone's listening out there in the audience, they're on LinkedIn, et cetera, what level do they need to be at to qualify to work with you?
Well, it's really about them. I mean, we do reject people as well. There's a certain expectation.
Do they have feet pics? I'm sorry.
I think we got to add that as a service page.
I think we've discovered a new revenue stream for y'all. OnlyFans marketers.
I mean, I think we could get there. I mean, we have the video team to do it, but
no. There's also trade for print, trade for work. I don't know what that means. TFP.
Yeah. Well, it just like everybody else, expectations are so critical. Whatever you set for yourself, we're setting for you as well, right? So when we onboard someone, like when they're ready to go, we onboard within 24 hours, and we're asking all these deep dive questions like, tell us about your revenue, tell us about your goals, tell us about what you're doing for you. Because at the end of the day, we can do 98% of the work, but there's still 2% you're going to have to do. And if you're unwilling to do the 2%, it doesn't matter how hard or how much we do, you're not going to scale correctly, and you're going to fall back, and then you're going to blame us. And that's not the case. The case is when you're all in, you're all in. And that's what we want to know. And so if they are and they're ready to move, we're going to work with those people to get the specific goals that they want. And if they're listening and their marketing company isn't talking to them every other week or once a week or sending out info or getting weekly reports or just identifying, I'm in this rut and I've been in this rut for more than a month, then that's the wrong company to be with, because they're not making the changes that it takes to see them successful. And I think for me as an entrepreneur and owning this wonderful marketing company that has the best technology that we've ever identified, you have to make moves at the end of the day. You have to move forward. No matter the rut you've been in, you have to move forward.
There you go. What do you see as the future going forward with content marketing and, platform advertising on Facebook and other places, Google? What do you see the future maybe in the next year or two? Are there changes coming that you see that people need to be ready for? I know we're very likely going to end a recession. I think that's just a given. I think we're first quarter down, and so we just need one more quarter and we're officially in a recession. And a lot of people sometimes in a recession don't understand that's one of the most important times to amp up your advertising, is to offset those losses. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agreed. And even during the Biden eras, I mean, we had 2 quarters, that were down, and then they refuted it and said that there wasn't really a recession, that it was, maybe we were already out of it. And most economists and most people will tell you that even if they've defined it a recession, by the time they defined it, it's towards the end of Q3 anyways. Most of the time you're already out of it, even if it's relatively small. 1%, 0.75% down from year to year. You can make that up. I think what we did find is that April is going to be a relatively bad month in terms of overall numbers because of the quote unquote tariff scare. So we'll see how that plays out for sure. But here's what I can tell you. In the world of AI, everybody is thinking, right now that AI is going to take over all content marketing, that if you just subscribe to an AI website, it's going to write all this great stuff for you. And there is some truth that it's better than you probably at writing content right now. But overall, that is not how Google looks at stuff. And what AI can't do is answer the questions that you and I organically are coming up with, right? Sexy feed in Dallas or in Vegas, right? And so when we talk about creating stuff, it has to be answering those questions. And right now, AI just really, it's close, but it just isn't there yet. And even when we're dealing with AI, probably every 5 or 6 prompts, we're seeing errors in it. So it's still not, we still can't justify that it can be everything. And I don't think that it ever will be, but I think it can help a lot of areas get ahead. But if you're an entrepreneur that's looking for just quick, easy content to put out there, that's easy, but it's typically not convertible. We still have to, as humans, get to why do people ask this specific question and how do we answer it? And oftentimes, still, ChatGPT is not going to answer that, or DeepSeek or Claude or Grok or any of those guys. They're not going to answer it correctly, but they have their own lane that they do help in.
There you go. Excuse me.
And here's what I do think we will see more of. Like, for example, lawyers are so expensive, right? They're hundreds of dollars an hour. They charge you every time they think you're calling them. Like they're going to call you. Yeah, I mean, they're going to charge you for any and everything.
I'm going to start doing that with my clients. I think you need help, more help than you're paying for right now, and I'll just bill you for it.
Exactly. And what you can do is you can take a lease, you can take a contract of income, and you can upload it into ChatGPT, and it'll tell you everything about this contract, and it's going to give you pretty sound advice. Maybe not the total advice, but it's going to give you, how to answer any type of questions if one arises, or it could tell you how to get in and out of danger if you're trying to sign into something that you don't have time to read and you don't want to pay a lawyer $600 to tell you, yeah, you're fine or no, you're not. And I think that's kind of the cool part now is it's going to solve a lot of things like that'll save people money. So it's really just identifying what those look like. But overall, from an SEO standpoint, humans are still going to win at the end of the day.
Why is it important to amp up when times get slow? I mean, one of the problems that a lot of entrepreneurs have is, they kind of have their model and their system. One thing I learned years ago buying companies was they usually run that fucking thing in the ground. Like maybe they start the company for a couple of years. You talked about how a lot of companies don't make it to year 5. And so what they'll do is they'll start with their model, and sometimes it works, or maybe they just have the clients lined up and it works for a while. And then sometimes there's changes in the marketplace and competition and business models for that industry. Sometimes there's just the model stops working. I don't know. One of the big things I would see with people is they'd hire their whole family to work for them, and they became successful, and that creates its own fucking struggles. You can't, and it's hard to fire those people because you're like, well, they're my family. I mean, I've walked into companies to acquire them, and they're steps away from bankruptcy, and they just really don't realize it. And you'll walk in and and you're looking at all the people, and you're like, yeah, here's my mom and my sister and you have most of your family that works at your company, huh? Oh shit, I'm gonna be firing you and all of them. I see what the problem is here.
Yeah.
If you can't, I mean, people have to live with that sort of thing over their head, or they perform better. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. But when you have family, you know, there's all sorts of other things that play into that. Maybe I don't know, you punched your brother in the head when you were a kid, and he's sabotaging your business. I don't know. I'm just running scenarios here, but I would see that. It was crazy when I'd see it. And sometimes I couldn't take over the company because like, you're going to fire everybody, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, you don't have your family work for you. That's just it.
No.
And there's no guarantees. This isn't what is that, Professor Tennessee or something like that, where you can get, you basically can't be fired as a professor after a while. It's kind of how family feels. But so what do you see if we do enter a recession, if things get tight, or ups and downs? I've learned as an entrepreneur that as soon as I see, the models sort of falling off, or I see holes coming in, or, maybe there's a couple days where there's no revenue, you're like, hey, what's going on, man? Let's check the do a checkup from the neck up and see what's going on. Why is it important to do that? And even in a recession?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in my opinion, you're planning the next month, right? So the month you're in, you should already know the data for that month. You're already checking the next month's data. So if the data from current month and last month is you're down 20% versus last year, down 10%, you're starting to see the bigger picture, then we know that you've got to tighten up your bootstraps in one way or the other. And identifying how you're going to get your message out becomes even more critical, right? So there's a lot of people that decide, I'm going to put ads in late, right? Well, I'm going to get caught up because I didn't need ads, I didn't need all this stuff, and now that I need it, I'm depending on it, and that's the wrong time to do it. But it's the easy trap to fall into because you say, I don't need to spend until you're in a need and have to spend. So identifying that ahead of time is really critical. So if you see that you're 10, 15, 20% down, then it's time to develop a plan and talk to people. I think it's not just, hey, we got to do stuff. If you've got a mentor, talk to that mentor. If you have a mentor that's at a bank is a great way to get great data that maybe you don't have access to. Hey, what is going on that you can help me out? My mentor told me the 3 greatest things you need to be successful as an entrepreneur is to have a great mentor, a great bank, and a great lawyer. If you have those 3, yeah, you're going to be able to really maneuver out of a lot of jams. But more importantly, you're going to have people that are going to give you sound advice.
That's true.
The lawyer thing could be in question, I guess, theoretically, but no. But really, you want that person to give you best advice to protect your assets and your liabilities at the end of the day. But forecasting is critical, and if you're not sure, your mentor should be helping you identify that. And I think my first year in business, although we were profitable and we did scale actually pretty quickly, it really wasn't until year 3 when we had a pullback that I was like, you know what? I really need to have someone that I can lean in onto for advice and say, hey, I don't have these systems in place. Where do I start? How do I get them? And by forecasting correctly, seeing the trend, you're going to be ahead of it. Your ad spend will be better. Your converting content will be better. You're going to be better in line to get through that tougher time. I think a lot of entrepreneurs experience that in 2024 alone. I know from a retail perspective, it was down 40% from the previous year in most industries. So 40% is a big hit. I don't think that we're going to see 40% hits in 2025, but I do think 2026 is going to be an excellent year. So I think if we're all smart and we plan appropriately, we're going to be ready for a great 2026.
There you go. Get ready for it and all that good stuff. And yeah, I mean, marketing is just so important. And I've seen people that in times where the model starts failing and they're not making as much money, and they're kind of like, hey, we should probably look at, just cutting some expenses. The first thing they'll cut is marketing. Right. Like I've seen that like for 35 years of business. The first thing they'll do is like, we're going to cut back our marketing, and they're usually working with people like me. Back in the day, I used to do some of the stuff you do. And about 10 years ago or so, I think now, God, has it been that long that social media's been around? Yeah. And so the first thing I always cut is your budget. You've probably gotten those calls. We're like, Brad, we're cutting you. And you're like, you're you're cutting your market. That's like slitting your own throat, cutting off your what is it? Cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's probably not the best thing to do. I mean, just go fire like 50 employees. No, don't do that. I'm just doing jokes, people. Stop it. We're not Silicon Valley over here.
No, but what you're saying is right. Like, be proactive, but don't cut off the arm that ultimately will save you at the end of the day. But I would say that needs to be the part that maybe you scrutinize the most is, hey, where is our ad spend going? And then identifying what is our conversion and spend in each area. If you see that you're not really doing anything at Google or Yelp, stop spending money there. If you're seeing that it's all in Facebook, then that's where you need to plant your money. And really good marketing companies are going to put out 8-9 ads. They're going to test them all and see which one's firing, and that's where you put your ad spend at. But if your marketing company isn't doing that, then that's a big red flag. Get out, save your money, move on, for sure.
Get out, save your money, move on. Now, you talked early on too about this is kind of, I'm really falling back, but you talked about some of the bad ad spending that you'd made and mistakes that you made doing your own, where there's we've had a lot of people on that have talked about ad fraud, ad click fraud. Sometimes your competitors figure out ways to burn your ad money.
Well, and I could tell you for sure that there are companies out there that specifically make bots that click on your competitors' ad spend to burn their budget. I do know that. Now, that's a black hat tactic. We don't do that. If you believe in God, you believe in karma, that is just an area you stay away from, because that will come to bite you in the ass.
But people are desperate out there. They can pull some interesting things, and I know that's a big deal with them. Is all of that, and so you help get your clients avoiding that, because running ads, it can be complicated. If you don't do it right, you can lose your ad account, right?
Yes, no question. Yeah, and the guy that helped us, he was an owner of a construction company himself, a marketing company guru. He knew all my pain points. He knew how to structure things in a way that just sounded so great that you were like, oh my gosh, take my money. But one of my first big red flags is he said, Chris, I can help you. Here is how I get your return on investment. And I think it was like 6x or 8x. Not what we're doing for sure by any stretch, but at the time, that sounded great. And he said, hey, give me your credit card. We'll start today. Well, we gave him the card, and we didn't get onboarded for a week. So if I spent $3,000 and I waited a week, I just lost $750 in waiting.
Yeah.
So unless we're prepared to onboard next day, we don't even take the credit card, because we value the importance of taking care of people the right way. And what he did is he created all these different landing pages. He was creating different Google business profiles and pointing things different ways. So Google just said, hey, we're putting you in jail. You're not going to rank anymore. You can slide down. We're not putting you up. This isn't right. And so next thing you know, we've lost $10,000 in ad spend that didn't go anywhere, because Google didn't want us anywhere near high intent people. And so by identifying that we're losing money in this ad spend, by having improper pages, Google business profiles, it was a disaster. And
then the money on top of paying the
and then it's 3 months to get out of it, and you're calling Google, you're saying, God, you've restricted our account, talk to us, what are we doing? He's not with us anymore, I promise. Like, it's a sad story, and as an entrepreneur, you can't afford to be in that position.
Were you able to get your account back?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And then now we
just hired an idiot that ran ads.
Yeah. It was my bad. Just someone who told me exactly what I needed wrong to be fixed, and did it worse.
But this is important to know, because people don't realize this. Like I actually had a friend of mine who was asking me about getting in the SEO game, the Google ad game. He saw someone who was making a lot of money every month on the internet or something, doing a lot of what you do. And he's like, he's a young gentleman who's trying to find his way through his calling in life. And I was like, number one, go find your purpose. Go find something you'll do that you'll love and work for free. Don't go on the internet and just see people that have money and be like, I want to be like them. Go find something you love. because it makes a whole big difference when you wake up in the morning. But number two, I said, you're going to have to go apprentice that. He goes, no, I just saw this guy on the internet doing it. I can do it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You can lose. I've known lots of gentlemen like yourself. I'm like, even the best ad agencies can trip those anonymous wires of the computer algorithm and get their ad accounts suspended. And I go, then you have liability insurance you're gonna have to cover for if you fuck up someone's their online presence. I mean, you take down a Facebook ad account, you're sometimes taking down the whole Facebook account, which means you're losing everything. And then your client's going to get pissed and sue you. And I'm like, you're going to have to go spend years learning this. And he just thought he could walk into it. But, there's a lot of risk, and you're paying for the knowledge to avoid all the trial and error. And, the stuff that you guys have done painfully, building a knowledge base for all the years you've been in business. You're jumping right to the front of the line, basically, when you do that. Because if you're trying to master the ad business online, and it's the moving target that it is for, you've got TikTok now, and God knows what's next week, and AI, of course, is coming down the road. That's probably you're welcome to comment on that. It's not really a question, it's just a ramble, but also maybe a question I'll feed you too on top of it is go ahead and overload the guests with questions, Chris. Oh shit, I blew it. Okay, I'll let you respond to that, and then I'll.
So, I think a lot of people just assume you create an ad, you throw it on Facebook, you say, hey, what is my audience? You don't know what your audience is. You have an idea of what your audience is. You go to YouTube, you put in how to identify, audience and Facebook ads. And the problem is you're going to get so many different wrong views. And the problem is you're going to get so many different views. Like the former CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for New Balance, for example, his belief is when you run Facebook, you didn't even put an audience in. You let Facebook figure it out for you.
Really?
Right? And his idea is that Facebook knows so much more about you and about what your product is that as it goes through the learning phase, it'll figure it out on its own. However, I've talked to influencers in Europe that swear that that's absolutely the wrong way to do it. I mean, these are top influencers and marketers who say, no, you niche down to your audience, you pick your cities, you're going to pay more for that ad, but you're going to get better high quality ads that are more, content or more likely to buy from you, intent, excuse me, is the word I was looking for, to buy your product. And so you have two opposing forces. Which one's right? And the answer can be both can be right to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you know when you're an entrepreneur and you only have $1,000 to spend in a month? How do you know which one to go with? How do you know which one's not just going to burn your account?
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that say they know what they're doing, but they don't have the reputation, or sometimes they're just running scams.
And funny enough, that same guy that was running these ads for us that promised the world, there was only two sets of people that called in on these ads. One were people who spoke only Spanish and people who were 65 and up. It wasn't
your target market?
Opposite. No, it was the exact opposite of our target market. Over 65 and only speak Spanish? What market is that?
I don't know. So, I don't know. Old people rest homes or something. I don't know.
But what about the Spanish part? Like what?
Well, it's rest homes in Mexico. So there you go.
Yeah. So it just was. I mean, it was almost unbelievable that happened. I'm like, this is what you claim you do best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absurd. So
that's for entrepreneurs, go ahead.
I was going to say that's just the thing to be aware of. Is if you're not good at ads, don't pretend to be one. Like, don't waste your ad account. Don't put up $100 a day or $2,000 a month when you have no idea if it's working or not. Stay away from that. Save your money. Hire someone. Hire us, right? And we're going to lead you towards the right way.
There you go. So as we go out, give us your .coms and give people your final pitch. Tell them how they can reach out to you and get to know you better and find out if you're fit with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. So Chris, my email is chris@modernmarketingsolutions.com. Feel free to personally email me. I would love to spend any amount of time with anybody. And then our address is modernmarketingsolutions.com. chrisvosshow.com. And then also you'll have up there, they've got the phone number to be able to reach us direct. We also have a Calendly that can set up a time with me personally or our other founder, Tyler. We do all the onboardings ourselves. We believe that time for us is important. So we believe that when you're face-to-face and you're breaking bread with other people and you say, hey, I'm in this with you, I understand your feelings. It's not just a sell. It's not just a pain point because I just happen to know it. It's because we genuinely want to see people's lives transformed by the 5% who know what they're doing, not the 95% who steal your shit.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine there's a lot of fraud in the industry. And like I said, I kind of the example I cited earlier of a friend who was like, this looks easy, I should get into it. I'm like, no, he was like, I hear they're making $100,000 a month in revenue. And I'm like, I mean, that sounds like some really big clients they have, maybe, and they're going to sue the shit out of you if you fuck up their account. Like, you're going to need insurance for, if you tell somebody the wrong thing and you muck their brand, I even told them some stories about how, some of the, there's some of the PR faux pas from some of the big marketing thing. There's a story years ago of the gal who made some racist statements while boarding a plane to go from, I guess, New York to South Africa about AIDS. I don't know if you remember that. And she worked for a big agency marketing house. And she made a tweet, got on a plane, and woke up with the whole internet going viral. And she was out of a job by the time she landed.
Oh my gosh!
But I'm like, you can do something personally that can, your clients are going to be pissed about, and they're going to, or you've seen the accounts that are corporate accounts, and some idiot will put something stupid through that they're not supposed to. That and so there's a lot of mistakes you make, and I'm like, you understand, you're working for other people. You muck that up, and they're going to come after you. They're not going to be happy at all, especially if it's a big muck up. I've seen them all. I'm sure you have too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and you're the face of the business at that point. You're pointing high intent people back to you, and this is what they're saying. So you have to be incredibly important about that. But Chris, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you again so much for that. Looking forward to the book coming out. And again, more importantly, we're here to help people. I think at the end of the day, this is genuine. If anyone's just curious, hey, do you think this person's taking advantage of me? That's the right call, because we want to help them. This is not a sales pitch. This is really just helping other people that didn't have to go through what we had to go through.
There you go. And you get to jump right to the front line instead of having to learn the hard way and spend those all the years to whatever. But yeah, the name of the book is The Delusion of Marketing for Small Business Owners, correct?
Yes, sir.
There you go. And probably by the time you're seeing this video, maybe it'll be out or it'll be close to being out. Watch for it. And then we'll follow up with an updated link on the Chris Voss Show. Thank you, Chris, for coming on the show. Thanks for my audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTok, Gideon, all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you